Clancy here. I'm the host of the Everyday Millionaire podcast and the CEO and managing partner of the Real Estate Investment Network. Today, I'm joined by Jean-Guy Francoeur, who is our Chief Growth Officer for the Real Estate Investment Network. And we're talking today, and I'm going to dig into this with you, Jean-Guy, about how we create our legacy in investing in real estate. But I want to give you a little bit of background about Jean-Guy Francoeur. Now, he joined the team many months ago, but he comes with a background that's really incredibly interesting, to be honest with you. First off, he is a real estate investor, a very successful real estate investor. He's been part of the REIN community for several years now. But his background in business, his background in marketing, social media, and the support that he provides now REIN members is really exciting. And today I want to pick your brain, Jean-Guy.
I look forward to it.
Number one, about the legacy, creating your legacy, investing in real estate. But I want to also talk to you a little bit about your own background. Now, we joke back and forth about this, but Jean-Guy is literally almost half my age. And
Almost.
You're a little older than that. But he started investing in real estate, and I'm a little envious of it, to be honest with you. You started investing in real estate when you were very young.
Yes.
So take me back a little bit. First off, why don't we start here? You came from being a business owner. You built a number of businesses that you've gone on to sell. Mm-hmm. And along the way, you took some of those profits, if you will, and invested in real estate. That's some of what you did.
Yep.
So give me a little bit of background on the business side of it, and then let's start getting into real estate.
Well, in the last decade or so, 15 years, I've built and sold 6 companies, much of which were in the health and wellness space, in the marketing space, in the publishing space, as well as in the real estate space. And really, real estate became very obvious for me after trials and tribulations in the business world, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you've been a REIN member for, what, 4 or 5 years?
4 years now. I joined in 2014.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best personal development decisions I ever made was to join REIN and the incredible community and just the learning and the system. And I was really able, and I'm sure we'll dig into it, really able to condense all of everyone's mistakes so that I didn't make as many mistakes, so to speak, which was incredible for me.
Right.
So thanks for making all those mistakes, Patrick.
I made a lot of mistakes. Gosh, I think I'm still making too many mistakes. You know, the one thing that showed up for me when I meet and have been really honored to work with you is realization for myself is that you're well under 40. I didn't even start investing until I was 40. Now, investing in real estate is good at any age, by the way, but I realized that I didn't start until I was 40 years old, although I was dabbling or thinking about real estate for a number of years. And I can't imagine how many hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars I left on the table.
Probably millions.
And so I'm a little envious that at your age, which is, like I say, your mid-30s, that you really kicked it off and really stepped into it in a big way.
And that's one of the lessons I was able to catch on early was I saw some incredible people build up incredible wealth and build amazing legacies for themselves, their families, and their future generations. And they didn't start till they were in their mid-40s or sometimes 50s, sometimes mid-50s, and sometimes 60s. And I thought to myself, wow, what an honor to be able to start so young. And there's really no time like the present. It's a big theme that I'm going to talk about in the webinar, which I'm sure we'll talk about, the event that I'll be hosting and speaking at, where there's no time like the present. Really, where you are today, you're meant to be, and you got to start where you are, even if it's not perfect. And let me tell you, it wasn't perfect for me then.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about that. Now, the program that we want to introduce around the webinar is really called creating the 8 steps, I think it is, to creating your legacy investing in real estate.
Correct. The 8 steps to building your legacy using real estate.
So let's talk about that. Now, in the world of REIN, we are, I think, without a doubt, the absolute leaders in North America in the world of education and in providing that education, that proven strategy. 26 years we've been doing it, literally thousands of investors, a lot of success. And I got to be honest with you is that I've heard many stories just like Jean-Guy's of young guys that got into real estate and have built incredible financial futures for themselves and their families. Legacy.
Yep.
So let's talk about a little bit about legacy. So if we were to walk through those 8 steps of creating a legacy, investing in real estate, where would you want to start in that particular conversation?
Well, I think you really need to start with the reasons why people don't do it. As we call them, the 8 great waits. And those are 8 reasons why people wait. Why tomorrow always seems to be a better idea than today. But really, those things are heavy. That's why we call them the 8 great waits. It's a bit of a double entendre.
And it's in the spelling.
It's in the spelling.
So 8 great waits. No time.
No time.
No money. Wrong economy.
That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
No money, which we'll address on the webinar on
Right.
how you can get into this with, even if you don't have all your finances in perfect order. And let me tell you, and you'll know this, Patrick, and actually let me be the interviewer for a second.
Sure.
As someone who's been incredibly successful in real estate, there's always an opportunity to have more, and you never quite have enough to do the next deal, because the first deal you do, you maybe get into a single family or a duplex or a threeplex, but as you do more and more and more, it turns out you want to do bigger and bigger and bigger projects,
yes, you do.
and you keep needing more and more financial resources. So it's really not about the resources, it's about the resourcefulness, which is something we're going to talk about at this event.
That's awesome. Now, do we want to go through a couple more 8 great ways?
Sure, let's do it.
Because here's some things that happen. I can't find the right deal.
Totally.
Wrong economy.
Oh, I love that one. It's my favorite.
Mike, we're going to talk about that.
Oh,
We got to talk about that. My partner isn't on side. My
Yep.
significant other has a different belief system, is
Yep.
really afraid, and they don't want to do it.
Yep, and that's a serious one, and
It
we'll
is.
touch on it at the webinar. We'll touch on it at the event, but that's a serious one. You know, if you're not aligned with your partner on how you're going to build out your legacy, this is something that can trip you up. But the fact is that not dealing with it or choosing not to deal with it is also a decision you're making, and you really need to be in alignment.
Yeah.
Even though you may not be in perfect alignment, there are ways to get closer so you can move yourself forward.
You know, what's interesting is, over the past 27 years or 20 years that I've been investing in real estate, past 15 or 17 that I've been involved with the Real Estate Investment Network, I take calls and I have coaching sessions with the community, with members of the community, and it's often a conversation of a husband-wife team often about, I'm just not quite on the same page as he is, or vice versa. And it's interesting, just the momentum you can gain, the velocity you can get when you
Totally.
got both people on side. But here's the other reason. The 8th great weight is fear. Fear of failure, fear of losing it all, just fear. And gosh, that will keep anybody stuck, but often in the world of partnership, one partner is a little bit more afraid than the other, and fear shuts you down. And that's whether you have a partner or not, or guess what? You could have a couple or 2 people that are in the world of real estate. They know it works, but they're just stuck because they just don't want to fail.
100%. And when it comes to your partners and the fear, because sometimes those go hand in hand, it often, and this is another thing we're going to talk about at the event, is what is your objective? What is your outcome? What are you working back from? Because oftentimes the reason that people can't seem to get on the same page is because they have different objectives. They've really never talked about it. They've never actually come together and talked about their outcome and what real estate can provide and what they want it to provide.
So I don't want to step over that, because what you just said I think is really important. What is the objective? Why is real estate even a conversation with you? Why are you even considering real estate and real estate investing? Why would you even consider building your legacy investing in real estate? So when you talk about objective, what does that mean for you, Jean-Guy?
Well, so let's first ask the question of why real estate. Let's answer that one first, which I think for me, the reason I turned to real estate, there's several. The first thing is, and I've done plenty of investing in stocks, and as you know, lots in business, actual business that I've built and sold. But one of the things I love about real estate, and this is something you and I have never actually talked about, I'm going to hit you with something new here.
Okay.
But
I'm ready.
the thing with real estate is, and I've talked about this with a couple friends, is there's an established space and there are established rules in the real estate space. And if you could master those rules and play within the box called real estate, you can do incredibly well. I'll give you an example. If you want to sell a business, a small business, first of all, it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
What are you going to get? 5 times EBITDA? 3 times EBITDA? How do you spell EBITDA? How do you measure EBITDA?
Yeah.
There's all these various things that make it very difficult. So for me, the real estate space was a certain set of rules that I could play within. I know that most banks will finance real estate to a certain X% of loan to value ratio. So there are rules. Try to find a business loan when you're when it's your first business. Good luck with that.
Good luck.
So see, for me, it was a space that I knew I could master the game. I just needed to figure out which game, and real estate showed up for me. And that's just one of the reasons that for me, why real estate. But I'm going to teach at this event. That's my reason why. But there are actually a series of awesome reasons why real estate is the best performing asset class compared to stocks, bonds, puts, calls, options, and all of the various other options out there.
So how about let's get some really specific reasons of why real estate works as an investment vehicle. Why is it that so many people, and why real estate has gotten so big over the years in terms of investment? Let's drill down on that. Why does real estate work? What is it for you, the power of real estate?
So the first thing for me is the power of leverage. You're able to take a certain amount of money, in this case $1, and turn it instantly into $4 or $5 of real estate value.
Right.
So by having, whether I have $10, $20, $30,000, I could turn that into hundreds of thousands of dollars of assets and use the power of that leverage over the course of 20, 25, 30 plus years.
Right.
So that leverage, and I'll walk through this in the event, and I know we can't cover all of this, but in the event I'm going to cover the actual mathematical reasons, because I'm a math guy myself, of why real estate makes the most sense when it just comes down to a straight power of leverage and straight return on investment.
So just for clarity, we're not talking about no money down deals and get in for free like late night television stuff. This is really practical stuff that people are doing every day. This isn't late night TV.
No, this is no late night TV, get rich quick, American zero down stuff. This is stuff that we do on an everyday basis.
Right.
And these are the strategies that we teach. And they are strategies that will work for you whether or not you're just getting started at your first deal, or whether or not you've been at this for a long time and you want to change your strategy, because there's different strategies for starters, for beginner investors, than there are for seasoned investors and sort of professional investors, if you will. Different strategies, and we're going to talk about that, I hope, in this interview, about the different markets and the different strategies.
Well, actually, I want to get into that, because one of the things that the Real Estate Investment Network has been known for so many years is leaders in understanding the economic fundamentals that drive real estate.
Yep.
So as sophisticated real estate investors, savvy real estate investors, whatever terminology that you prefer to use, we look at real estate differently, because we're looking at where real estate is going, not where it's been.
Totally.
So here's the fundamental difference, which is the economic fundamentals. In the world of real estate, we often, if you're talking to a realtor, he's going to tell you what the market used to be, what it was a year ago, 5 years ago, now it's what it is, days on market. All of that is relevant and has some value in an assessment of
and
market.
They usually go as far back as they need to go in order to prove their point that they're trying to make.
That's true. But when we look at what the economic fundamentals are and we look at the economic drivers, it is actually like a crystal ball.
Totally.
When you start looking at gross domestic product, GDP growth, job growth, in-migration, immigration, what happens with rental when you have immigration coming into any given area. I mean, gosh, look at Vancouver, look at Toronto, people moving into that area. People wonder why Toronto and Vancouver are so strong. Well, guess what? It's a supply and demand. That's one issue. People are working, GDP is strong. So we know that that's going to drive those prices. Now, are you going to get into that in some depth and some detail through all of this, right?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about two things, actually. We're going to talk about the market, so knowing what cycle of the market you're in, this is what you're talking about now. We're going to talk about the in-depth signals that we're actually looking for, which, by the way, ties us back to our earlier conversation as to why real estate is so important. This isn't so much, and like I said, and I know you're also involved, but when you look at the stock market, you get a bad headline, you could lose 20% of your value on a bad headline.
Right.
That is crazy to me. I'm not investing my financial and my future legacy into that. However, with real estate, there's a predictable approach to knowing where the market's going and how it's going to get there. And I'm going to cover that in the event in terms of the specifics. GDP, where you should look for that, what you're looking for. Is it going up? Is it going down? What does it mean specifically? And then the best part, and I know we're probably going going to get into this, I hope, is what strategy you should use based on where you're at in the market.
Well, okay, so let's approach that, but let's talk about that.
Yep.
But I'm going to go back to a little bit earlier conversation that we just had, which is around what's the objective of investing in real estate. Now, of course, for me, there's a couple of different examples of it, but it's going to be one of two things. You're either investing in real estate for future income.
Yep.
You know, we'll use the phrase retirement, but that might not be it. It might be just a slowing down additional. So future income, but it could be, I want income today. I want to subsidize existing income because I've got a great job. I don't want to leave it, but I have some time. I could maybe do fix and flip, one of the strategies.
Yep.
Because as we talk about the economic fundamentals in a given region, that would be the next conversation. What strategy do I use?
That's correct. And the answer is, see, people ask me that all the time. What strategy should I use? The answer is, it depends. It depends on where the market is at that particular time. Sometimes it's best to use a fix and flip. Sometimes use a buy and hold. Sometimes it's best to use a rent to own. Sometimes it's best to use assignments and wholesale strategies. And all of those, some of them are future income and some of them are active income or today income, so to speak.
Right.
And that comes back to your objective, which is going to be a big part. And those of you listening, I want you to really think about this, is what is your objective investing in real estate? Many people don't ask themselves this. They just want to get into real estate because they think that it's that it's hot, that they know people have made money in real estate. They know people have built wealth in real estate, but they don't stop to slow down before they speed up to ask themselves, why do I want to get into real estate?
So they're buying into the hype, and they're actually buying on hype.
Totally, which is exactly what they shouldn't be doing. That's exactly how you're going to lose money on real estate.
So, in your experience, and given what you're going to be talking about through your process of webinars and event, are you going to be able to break down and talk about a plan? Like, when we think about objective, when we think about economic fundamentals, when we think about strategy to use in any given market, when we look at how do we get financing, how do we arrange financing, gosh, that seems quite overwhelming and could be quite complicated. Now, how do we talk about a plan?
So the first thing is, and that's probably the beauty of coming to this event, is the people that come to this event are going to get a step-by-step approach.
Right.
And it's 8 steps, and it's sequential. So you start with 1, and then you go to 2, and so on and so forth, and you finish with 8. So, because when you think about investing in real estate, it sounds so simple. Buy a building, put some tenants in there perhaps, let things happen for a while, and then cash out.
All right.
But it's not quite that simple when you try to execute. A lot of people try and fail because they don't have a step-by-step approach. But in this event, I'll be able to cover the steps right from deciding what your objective is all the way down to knowing your market, your strategy, doing the research, looking at the 8 great weights and looking at what's stopping you, talking about financing and how to put yourself in a position to get financed when the mortgage industry is tightening more than ever,
Sure.
which is a key issue right now as we shoot this actual interview.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely. It sure is. And so I'm going to give maybe a couple little snippets or cats out of the bag, which is we're going to talk about treating real estate investing like a business.
Yep.
We'll have a little bit of an overview of that.
Totally.
Because that's a really, really impactful, profound thing.
Well, and I think you just hit on probably one of the biggest mistakes people make in the real estate business, because once they do all of that work to get themselves in real estate, then all of a sudden, it seems like the wheels come off the train, if you will, because they don't treat it like a business. They get that phone call, the furnace is broken, they need to make these repairs, these replacements. They're not prepared for that. And then what was once a beautiful idea on paper, the idea of investing in theory, just became the biggest nightmare because they weren't prepared for it. And we're going to show you a system at this event for people to be able to really treat their real estate investments like a business so that they're ready for the inevitable.
Right.
They're ready for those moments, but more importantly, they are building for the future, because there's nothing that saddens me more than somebody making the wrong choices on deal number 1 and deal number 2, and then they're handcuffed.
Right.
And right now, the people watching perhaps are not thinking about deal number 3, 4, and 5, but if there's anything I've learned from being part of the RAIN community and having phenomenal mentors, is that I really made some great moves on deal 1 and 2, which freed me up to make great moves on deal 9, 10,
So important.
and so on and so forth.
So important. So when you're putting your plan together in the education and the process that you're providing, are you actually going to break down? Because having a great team, when I'm looking at this and I go, gosh, I'm busy, maybe I'm working full time, or maybe I've got a business where I'm just really busy in my business, but I know real estate works. How do I put the team of people together necessary, and how do I know how to put the right people on the right team? Are you going to be breaking that down as well as part of that education process?
Yeah. We'll be talking about everybody that you need on your team, and specifically where you should be looking, what you should be looking for, and what you should be avoiding, which is probably one of the critical things, because it's a big space. It's one of our biggest asset classes. It is the biggest asset class. It is one of the most intense economic drivers of our business. As a result, it attracts all kinds of people. And it's important for you to build the right team around you, because if you don't build the right team, you're going to figure out that this is a lonely sport.
We have learned and done this so often that we're so confident in what we say and what you say is because we have a track record. We have literally a community of people that have bought and transacted over $5 billion worth of real estate, 37,000 transactions, and so we know what works. And I think your everyday millionaire tag should be seemingly ordinary people achieving extraordinary results following an ordinary plan. That's perfect. Jean-Guy, thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure having the conversation.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.